Welcome to a Fantasy Fan Sportscast with Easy and Lou Landers. Now enjoy the show, but don't forget our safe word.
And welcome. Safe word, Leatherface. That's all I know. I'm going to keep it right there. Leatherface, I was told. So that me and you stay within our hour. But I'm pretty excited, Lou. This is our first ever week one sit start episode because I don't think we started until week 2 last year. So I'm pretty excited. Let me welcome my guest on the Sunday morning show from the sports crew, Landers Talks. Mr. Lou Landers, are you excited to talk football today?
I am so damn excited to talk football, man. I couldn't sleep last night. I am just revving to go. Week 1, it's really here. Thursday, yeah, we had Thursday football, but this is the real football. It comes now. We got it. It's rolling. It's right. Football season. It's fantasy football season. Daily fantasy sports football season. Everything.
Right. It's pretty cool because for me, and we've talked, this is even a family event, you know, for my family. I mean, my non-football kid already texted me today. Will food be ready at 1? You know, because he knows Sunday at 1 o'clock, Dad has food, you know, it's there all day. And traditionally, week 1 here is chili and chili dogs. So it's because it's the easiest, but it also lets us know that summer's over in Ohio. It's, you know, it's fall, chili dogs, you know. So we're pretty excited. That's, you know, no one cares about the menu, but I am hungry. I can smell the chili. So we are starting at a new time this year, a half hour earlier, 11:30 to 12:30 Eastern. You can catch us live this week on Facebook. All one word, A Fantasy Fan.
On YouTube. Next week, Facebook. That's what you meant.
Yes, you're right. I even said we were going to mention it, and I mentioned the wrong one. Yeah, we're going to experiment maybe next week and, you know, put Facebook up and see if we can get more views where you guys can be out doing things and still grab us on your phone or something like that. So we think there's some advantage there. So we'll be doing that. But again, post your sit start questions in the chat room there on YouTube. We'll post them up on the screen on the video, and we'll answer them for you. And then we'll go from there. Also during the week, me and you both, you're at Landers Talks. I'm at A Fantasy Fan. On Twitter, you can direct messages, questions, and, you know, we'll post them. But I guess the first thing, let's just, I think we'd not be doing a service if we didn't at least mention Antonio Brown. We talked about it yesterday on the A-Hole Hour, and then the breaking news happened right when we got off.
Literally 15 seconds after.
Yeah, right. Any comments? I mean, we went back and forth if he would sign it all.
I got no comments, man. We knew it was coming. We knew he was going to the Patriots. I mean, you saw my Twitter poll.
Yeah.
I know you're not a big Facebook guy, but I had it up there on Facebook. I mean, we knew it was happening. We knew he was going to New England. And I'm not going to go out there and say that he had always planned on going to New England and leaving Oakland, but it certainly sure looks like his plan all along was to cause a bunch of crazy crap with Oakland, make them sick of him, so they cut him, so he could go where he wanted. And, I mean, the likelihood of him going to a Super Bowl was pretty high. I'd say it's about 50% right now of him going to the Super Bowl.
And obviously, fantasy-wise, if you had him, I heard all kinds of crazy trades for 2 days for Antonio Brown. And then, obviously, Josh Gordon, to me, is the person, maybe the only person that takes a pretty big whack on the Patriots team. I know there's a lot of people that thought he might be their number one, but now definitely this knocks Josh Gordon down. Would you agree with that?
It does, and I do have the Gordon share in a league. I mean, he's in my flex spot, so I might be able to move him around at some point, but definitely a little bit of a hit for him because I do think Edelman is still that PPR guy, assuming health for him. Of course, he has had some injuries in the past. Brown will likely take over as that number one guy, and I don't think it's going to take very long because he can run every route. Brady can hit him short. Brady can hit him long. It's not going to matter, and I think he's going to fit in very well in this Patriots offense, assuming he's actually going to be happy. And I think he's going to be happy because he's going to be on a winning team.
Now, I guess I said anybody else. Tom Brady, does he bump a little bit? I know a lot of people single quarterback leagues. Tom Brady didn't get drafted in the couple I did. 2 quarterback leagues, he's pretty much been drafted, but does that, I think it helps him, obviously. Tom Brady
doesn't hurt him. It doesn't hurt him.
Right. I mean, he seems to hit the people when they're open. I don't know how else to say it. Now, like I said,
Brady's a guy that will find the open receiver. He's a pro mastermind at the line. He can diagnose the coverages most of the time. He knows who's going to be open pre-snap typically, and he's going to find the open guy. And a lot of times that could be Antonio Brown because he is that good.
Right. And again, this is sit-start questions. Me and Lou have done this, like I said, we did, I think, 15 weeks last year, and we find out that all the questions come at the last 15 minutes. So, or they all come prior to. I mean, I got a solid questions, and I have a list
Thursday, and then I got no more.
Well, the problem is a few of the questions obviously were players that played on Thursday, and then a few of them are just, like I said, players that might not matter. But the other issues I just have, because it just came up, that Diggs is definitely going to be playing. I've now seen that message that Diggs is playing today, and that Adrian Peterson is not playing today.
Mike Evans is in as well. I read that. So for the first time in a while, it seemed like he was actually not on the injured list, and then Thursday night popped up that he was dealing with an illness. So it wasn't an injury-related thing; it was an illness issue. But apparently, he's good to go, so he will be in today as well. I have a lot of Evans and Diggs in season long. I certainly have some Evans in DFS today, so very good.
Right.
Very happy to hear that.
Julio Jones signed a big contract, so it looks like he's definitely, his ankle got better. It's amazing how signing a piece of paper can make your ankle better.
Well, signing that paper got him all that money. You could afford to go visit the doctor.
Right. A couple things, again, and I'm a fantasy fan. So I want to throw out stuff out there that if I'm listening to a show today, even if I don't have sit-start questions, obviously we'll throw things out there, news or things that come up. And then obviously the sit-start questions we'll get to. Robbie Anderson is going to be active. It just popped up. LaShawn McCoy, they are saying now could see up to 20 snaps, which I was hoping he wouldn't see any because I'm Damian Williams, and we got a couple Damian Williams questions. And Miles Sanders not starting just popped up on my thing, but I thought I heard that last night anyway.
Yeah, well, we do actually have a question here on YouTube from Sherman Jones. He wants to know Mike Evans or Julio Jones, and that is, I mean, if you have the option to not start one of those guys, your team must be great. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go with Mike Evans today, purely from the matchup standpoint. He is going to the 49ers, and right now, we're basing it on, of course, what they've done in the offseason to improve their defenses. But last year, the 49ers were the 24th worst team in the NFL against wide receivers. The Minnesota Vikings were number 1. So right then and there, Jones going up against the Vikings, of course, it's still Julio Jones, but you don't love the matchup. Whereas with Mike Evans going up against a fairly soft Niners defense there against the wide receiver spot, I'd play the matchup when it's that close between the players and their skill sets.
Now, I guess that seems to me like a DFS question, maybe. I'd be curious because, again, I think if you have those two in a season long, I'd like to see who else you have, or it's an 8 or a 10-team league. That's but I agree. I mean, there's a lot of people, who's the Tampa Bay quarterback?
Jameis Winston. However, also something to keep in mind, Easy, you did mention DFS. You could be right there because I know at least on DraftKings, those guys separated by just $100. Jones is 8,000, Evans is 7,900. So from a DFS standpoint, it's the same thing, and that's typically where I go. If you ever want to look at your guys' matchup, I mean, they do show it on some of the sites, most of the sites, but the DraftKings website usually gives you the best indication. Again, I can pull up a player's name, Mike Evans, for instance, again, going up against San Fran, 24th in the league last year versus wide receivers. Julio Jones going up against the Vikings, who were number 1 versus wide receivers. To me, it's a no-brainer when you look at the matchup.
All right, I would assume that. That's where I would go in DFS, and I'm such a great DFS player So don't be afraid. Yeah. Thanks. Cha-Cha in the chat room is out there. Yes, I did set, because of you, I set, I think, 7 different, 3 lineups, 7 tournaments. Is that how I'm going to say it? See, I don't even know enough.
So you use 3 different lineups around 7 tournaments.
7 contests. 7
contests. And you did it on Yahoo just for Cha-Cha.
Yeah, just for Cha-Cha, because it is screwy that, when it's like you got $12 more to spend, or, you only can spend $200, where DraftKings and those you get like $900,000 to spend, but I'll have to play with that a little bit more. But yeah, Cha-Cha made me play, and that's what I'm going to do. This person asked on Twitter last night, rank Damian Williams, Josh Jacobs, Tevin Coleman. I think
take Coleman out of there right
Tevin
away.
Coleman's not starting, right? Is that correct? Didn't I hear that?
Well, it's
Breida the starter.
That Matt Breida is going to be the focal point, but that might mean he gets 15 carries and Coleman gets 12 or 13 carries. Either way, the other guys appear to be the starters, even though Williams, everyone's talking about McCoy, Darwin's there. Williams only needs about 13 to 15 touches to really have a nice day for you. So I like him in that Kansas City Chiefs offense. I don't care who they're going up against. Jacobs, certainly intriguing, but if you're going to base it on him being a rookie, look what the rookie did Montgomery on Thursday night. I mean, you never know what a rookie's going to do in his first ever game. Don't look at the preseason. I would go with the safe play and go with Damian Williams, and you likely took Damian Williams earlier than all those guys in your drafts. You did that for a reason. Start Damian Williams week 1.
Right. Because Damian Williams is on, aren't we still projecting Kansas City to be, if not the top offense this year, the at least in the top 3? And even if he's splitting time on a top 3 offense, if he's splitting time, he's still going to be
he only needs 13 to 15 touches. I'm not even saying carries, touches.
Right. Touches. That's what I'm saying.
Especially in a PPR. If it's standard, maybe Jacobs is the way to go, because he is going to be the main guy. There's not a lot of options going on there in Oakland anymore either, with Brown leaving. It's Jacobs at running back, it's Waller, and it's Williams. That's essentially it. So from a standard standpoint, I might go with Jacobs because he's going to get a lot more action. But in PPR, Damian Williams to me is it the smart play for week 1. Until we see that he's not going to be the main guy, he should be starting in your lineup.
And I'm sorry, the fact he is the starter, I've always said, me and Chris on our Wednesday night fantasy fan sportscast, my point about being the starter is I've watched enough football to know the game plan can be one thing, but that guy starts and the first 2 drives, he's going crazy. They don't, they usually will just keep him going, and especially the Chiefs. So if he starts well, they're going to keep him in there. I really believe that. So yeah, they could, what we hear, this this sharing the backfield stuff, to me only matters once the game starts, because if he does well the first couple, obviously if he fumbles the first down, time he gets the ball, that's another issue. But I'm happy having the starter in Kansas City. And
also, keep in mind, this is the Chiefs. They will probably have many formations where there's 2 backs in that backfield.
Right.
Where you can have Williams in there and McCoy, or Williams and Thompson, or Thompson, any combination of the 3. 2 of them could be in that backfield. And Mahomes is one of those guys who, even though he's not trying to check down, he makes the guy miss, he scrambles out left a little bit, throws a pass that no one else in the league can even throw for 3 yards to Williams, and Williams takes it for 40 yards. Because it's a broken play. That's how some of the Chiefs' offense rolls. So, again, until Damian Williams is not the guy that's getting the most looks, he should be in your lineup. You draft him to be a starter, put him in your lineup. But
my argument still is, even if it's 50-50, if he's on your team, you have to start him at a minimum as your flex. I don't think you cannot start somebody, running back on Kansas City that's getting half the touches.
Or also, for me, if he drafted Damian Williams, you likely took him by the latest. The latest would have been the 5th round is when you would have had to take him. So there's no way that you have 3 better running backs than him. 2 running backs maybe if you went running back heavy, so in the flex. But most teams, if you're going to take Williams in the 5th round, you likely had 3 wide receivers, maybe 2 wide receivers, a quarterback, and 1 running back. You drafted Williams as your RB1 or RB2.
Right.
He should be in your lineup until proven otherwise. And there's no reason to believe that he still won't put up 10, 12, 15, maybe more.
Next question, because I brought him up and I was reading the question, then couldn't remember. Jameis Winston or Kyler Murray?
Before we do that, I want to give the people in our chat room the first go. So Jimmy Ross, hey Jimmy, how you doing today? Says Sutton or Breida. Definitely Breida for me. I don't trust any of the Broncos wide receivers really at this point. Don't trust Joe Flacco. Breida, to me, I like the offense of San Francisco, and he is the guy that's going to be starting the game at least. So I'll take Breida.
Which, exactly the same thing I said. I'm not a fan of the 49ers, but if I have a starter, I'm starting him. Because, again, if he has a great, if the first, 4 or 5 plays go his way, they're going to just keep going to him.
And also, what has Courtland Sutton done?
Nothing yet. Nothing. Now, that being said, Lou, our new technology, I can't post the question if you say it first. I'm just letting you know.
Well, that's just I'm just more on the ball than you are.
On Facebook, people, I'll post your question up there and then we'll read it. But Lou's too fast. Lou is seeing the questions much quicker.
I am too fast. It's true. In so many facets of life.
So many facets of life.
Just ask my fiance. But in all seriousness,
Lou, I hate to wash our laundry here on the show, but give me a second to post the question on the video. That's all I'm saying.
Also, we will be on Facebook next week, trying that out as well, because we think we can get some more viewers there. We think we can get some more engagements there. But we do appreciate everybody coming here. Jimmy Ross is changing it on our advice. Easy. One thing I do love about these shows is that you keep tabs of what we get right and what we get.
I know. We did that.
Everyone out there that gives advice never talks about when they make a mistake. We will do that. We will keep score. If we get it right, we'll let you know. But if we got it wrong, we will let you know. But please, you have another question. I believe I interrupted you as I wanted to give the people that showed up.
Right. And I will post it on there. People want to see their question on the big board. That's all. I'm just saying there's people that want to see their name in lights. But yes, Jameis Winston, Kyler Murray. I'm not a rookie guy, but that's on me.
Give me Winston
all day long.
In this situation, not only did Kyler Murray look pretty bad in the preseason beyond his first game, but Winston's a slinger, man. He's going to throw the football around. I like his options, man. I mean, Godwin and Evans are both great wide receivers. I love O.J. Howard. What does Kyler Murray have to work with? Christian Kirk, 50-year-old Larry Fitzgerald?
I'm on your side here, but I'm going to make you answer this. What would Kyler Murray have to do to outdo Winston today? Would he have to have 60, 70 yards rushing and a TD maybe? Plus maybe
I think Winston at the very least every week is going to give you 220 yards, 2+ touchdowns.
Yeah.
So for me, Murray, if he doesn't throw for 2 touchdowns, he's going to have to throw for about 200 yards and run exactly for about 60, 70 yards and still get those 2 touchdowns. It's not that it's not possible, but I think Winston has the higher ceiling.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, the question here, John Brown or Parker from Miami? And Parker from Miami announced last night Parker was their number 1. I know that doesn't mean much because who knows, but Fitzpatrick does throw the ball. John Brown to me is more talented, but I'll be curious. I think neither of these teams are going to score a lot of points the whole year, probably. But I can see where this would be a third wide receiver or a flex question.
Third wide receiver or flex question. We're talking. What are we talking again? We're taking John
Brown
first.
Or
Parker. I'm going to take John Brown, man. I'm going to take John Brown. I think that both of them are kind of boom or bust plays. And I trust Brown more. I like his quarterback situation more. So to me, that's the way that I'm rolling. I think that he has a better chance to make something happen.
I can just see Fitzpatrick just throwing it up. and Parker running underneath it. That's my thing. I could see one play for 65, 70 yards maybe, but because Fitzpatrick will do that. He is not worried about an interception. Where I think, in Buffalo, we still haven't seen that their quarterback, Josh Allen, is just going to heave it. So we'll be, that's the only part I would question. But I agree. I would start John Brown also. So we already talked about Matt Breida, but this person's asking Matt Breida or Duke Johnson.
I am a big Duke Johnson fan for this season. I'm also a big Duke Johnson fan today in DFS. And if I like him in DFS, I certainly like him in season long. Duke Johnson, man, I mean, he's never really gotten his fair shake to be a legitimate starter. And because of that, I want to say that he's going to get that opportunity here. And
okay, let me ask you a question again. This is why I'm here. To ask you as a fan.
Yep.
I'm in Ohio. The question that comes up when people say that to me is Duke Johnson hasn't been able to beat out other guys for that number one, including like a Carlos Hyde. So is it that Cleveland didn't ever, give him that option, or is he maybe just not as good as we think?
Even though used him as more of a pass catching back, change of pace type of guy. They just never really gave him much of an opportunity to be a every down back. I'm not saying he's going to be the every single down back, but he certainly is going to get an opportunity to run the ball more, and he's going to be a force out of the backfield catching the ball. I like Duke Johnson. I also don't think he's going to be in as much of a timeshare, at least right now.
Now, this guy also on the side comment, he put Breida here or Duke Johnson, but in quotes, he said, I also own Coleman. So I don't think you could play both Coleman and Breida, could you?
I mean, you can. I wouldn't in week one. Maybe when there's a bye week. Maybe when there's a bye week, or if the 49ers turn into the Seahawks and have one of the top running backs in the league.
I'm starting Duke Johnson over both of them also. So right now we're in agreement on all of them except the John Brown. I think I waver your way a little bit, but I'm not against Parker.
Devontae Parker has not proven anything to me in his time in the NFL. Every maybe 5 or 6 games, he'll have one decent game where it's like, oh, maybe I should have played him.
But it's the 4th year. We know wide receivers start. Now, every once in a while you get these people who start, as a rookie year, but it's not a surprise to see a wide receiver, take off in their 3rd or 4th year. Now, he's also, I think, on his 3rd or 4th different offensive coordinator, his 3rd different coach, his 3rd different quarterback. So to say he's not coming out of college, he had skills. I mean, so we'll see. So that's that. Tight end question. Delaney Walker or Waller for Oakland now?
Oh, I'm going Waller all the way now, man. Look at I'm just going to use the Jared Cook example from last year. By default, Jared Cook was the top option for the Raiders catching the football. Antonio Brown gone, just Tyrell Williams and Jacobs. There's going to be a lot of targets for Waller. Waller's going to see a lot of volume with Delaney Walker. I like him as a tight end, but they like to run the football a lot there too. And they got Corey Davis. They got a number of other options.
I'm unfortunately, these are all good questions because my point would be if you have both of them, I hope they both go off because I want to be able to trade one in a couple of weeks because Delaney Walker is healthy. And we all know Delaney Walker healthy is a very good tight end. And he's been a pretty good tight end, in that offense already with that quarterback. So it's not even new to him where Waller, again, it's new to him. The system's been there, but he is new. So, I agree. I'm liking Waller just because he's prepared for what's about to happen today, or tomorrow night, meaning, there'll be no Antonio Brown and they've been practicing that way. So I'll be curious, but if I have both, I'm hoping both of them go off because I'm hoping to trade one of those moving forward. We have another
question here. Yes. Put it up there. There you go. You beat me to it this time. Okay.
Yeah, you were good.
Hello to Matt Stifler. How you doing today, Matt?
Right.
Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson. So on paper, Baker Mayfield's the guy you want because he's going to air it out a little more. You know he's a quality passer. But if you look at the matchup, the Titans are actually quite good against the quarterback. They were the 5th best against the quarterback last year in fantasy. And with Lamar Jackson, he gets to face a Dolphins team who is just in complete disarray. I also think that the Ravens might beat the crap out of the Dolphins today. And once they get that lead, they're going to run the ball even more than they are already anticipating to run the ball, which could take Jackson out of the game. Whereas not that the Browns aren't going to beat the Titans, but I do think Mayfield will have to make plays throughout the game. So I will take Baker Mayfield despite the matchup.
I like that also. I think there's weeks where it will be the other way around because Jackson's going to scramble and he's going to get you the yards and all that. But I agree. I think
game script style. Jackson shouldn't have to scramble today. They're not going to want to risk him getting hurt once they get that lead. They have capable running backs, specifically Ingram, who is one of my favorite running backs today. Is Mark Ingram.
Right. With Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham, as far as we know, Odell Beckham's coming in not quite 100%. Does that affect?
It doesn't matter. Njoku and Landry were both there last year. He can dump it off to Chubb. They're going to move the football. It doesn't matter. The fact that he has Odell Beckham Jr. even just in the red zone adds to his value. But Njoku and Landry's enough.
I mean, because again, my DFS skills are so great, and I made my picks at 4:00 in the morning because I couldn't sleep because it is NFL eve. But the thing, I think Landry DFS wise could be I don't know. I kind of picked him. I think he could get 6 or 7 touches, maybe a touchdown. He's a lot cheaper than some of the other wide receivers. And if Odell Beckham only maybe plays a quarter for some reason, let's say, if they're winning pretty good, maybe you don't play him as much.
But I think you're overthinking it a little bit from DFS standpoint, though, only because in that same price range, you can get Tyler Lockett, who is the number one, who is going up against your Bengals, which is a good matchup. But you could also go much cheaper, go with D.D. Westbrook or Curtis Samuel, who I think can do just as well as Jarvis Landry and save you money to put elsewhere.
Okay, the 1:00 game in Ohio is Cleveland, so I had to have somebody from Cleveland, so I have a reason to watch. I hate to. That's probably not the best reason to pick your.
If you're going to go with one of those guys, go with Chubb.
Nick Chubb.
I'd go with Chubb over Landry or Njoku.
No.
DFS.
I didn't. I went McCaffrey. I went heavy on my 2 wide running backs, and I kind of looked for wide receivers. Speaking of that, D.D. Westbrook or Sterling Shepard was a question.
I like both matchups. I think the Giants will be able to move the ball a little bit on the Cowboys. Shepard and both Ingram, I think, will be heavily featured. But D.D. Westbrook is my boy. Big D.D. Westbrook fan this year. He's Ron McLeod's breakout star this year in the league. If you listen to the Sports Buffet show from earlier this week, I also have Nick Foles in a number of DFS lineups, so pairing the two together. I'll take D.D. Westbrook, especially in PPR. I think he's going to be a monster all season long, especially love his matchup against the Chiefs. That'll be a shootout, even with that Jags defense. You're going to have to put up points, throw the ball to beat Kansas City Chiefs. So D.D. Westbrook is going to get a ton of volume.
I agree. I am not sold on the Giants yet. I need to see something yet.
Sterling Shepard's a good player.
I know.
I mean, if you're in a deep league, like in a two deep leagues I do have Shepard as my second flex option. I like Shepard, but D.D. Westbrook went significantly earlier for a reason. In week one to me, people seem to overthink things. They like to play the matchups. It's like if you drafted D.D. in round 6 and Shepard in round 9, you clearly like D.D. more than Shepard. So it's week 1, go with D.D.
I know, but my problem still with Eli is, his best pass is 2 yards and straight down. So I don't know. I want to see something happen and see what we get there.
Another question. Thank you for posting.
Lou Landers does not think I'm capable of producing high quality Facebook show here.
Yeah, I know you. I know you're a good host. I just don't know about your production skills. But apparently they're on point ever since I beat you to it one time.
Yeah,
I did it on purpose. It was a learning experience on the fly.
I gotcha.
Double A asks, and Anthony Amorosa, sorry, it says up there.
Yeah, we know.
Doyle or Olsen. I'm staying away from the Colts tight ends right now until I see which one Jacoby Brissett latches onto. So just from that standpoint, I like Greg Olsen. And when Olsen's healthy, Cam Newton's going to find him. So take advantage of Olsen's health the first few weeks until he has some sort of foot problem and go with Greg Olsen.
I would agree. I'm an Olsen guy.
Projecting the future, one of my sleeper tight ends this year. No one's talking about him because everyone's on Waller, Ian Thomas, and Carolina. When Olsen gets hurt, Ian Thomas will be the man. And if you look back to the end of last year when Olsen was hurt, Ian Thomas had monster weeks with Cam Newton. So if you're a Greg Olsen owner, put Ian Thomas on your watch list right now.
All right. I was just now I'm reading to see. It looks like we must have we have JR must be going up against a Double A today in a league because they're smack talking in the chat.
I think it's the Sports Crew Keeper League, probably.
Yeah, the Sports Crew. We do have a keeper league. Pretty excited about that. That's gonna, we're gonna have a good time.
I'm projected to lose week 1.
Stop saying my name. Okay, we won't.
I am projected to lose week 1 easy. I saw that you were too, though, and so is Chris Allen. So I'm not as upset now.
Yeah, week 1. We've had that talk before.
Thing is, the projections in our league don't mean as much because we have all those bonus points.
Right, we have bonus points.
Project that well,
and I play a little different if 8 teams are going to make the playoffs. I don't need to win week 1 necessarily. I want to win, but I'm willing to hold players. I'm willing to take some upside things. Unfortunately, the Thursday game hurt me a little bit. There wasn't much.
I mean, the bonus points could change everything,
right?
Just very quickly.
Well, and we are playing on ESPN. ESPN's projections seem to, I don't want to say the S word. They're just,
you know what? Projections never mean anything to me. You get draft grades on sites. The ones where I get a C minus happen to be my best teams. One where I get a B plus or an A minus, I'm in the middle of the pack. I mean, the grades don't mean anything at all. The projections don't mean much. I don't mind looking at the individual players' projections, but when they put them all together and they show you your projection for the week, I don't care about that at all.
Right. And in home leagues, there's a lot of people that go by those, and it actually helps you if you're just a better player. If you're a better player, that doesn't mean much. And you'll see people pick people up because that guy's projected to score more next week, but he's not the better player for the rest of the season, or there's always things going there. The next question I have that was sent to me was Singletary at Buffalo or Lewis, Tennessee. Singletary's another rookie.
Yeah, he is. I actually am going to lead Singletary here, only because I do think that he is significantly more upside to guys like Gordon Yeldon. I've also read that he's going to be part of the special teams play today as well. Maybe he runs one back or something. There's always that possibility. And Dion Lewis seems to have already fallen out of favor in Tennessee. They really like Henry a lot more.
Right. And he is the starter, right? I think they announced him definitely the starter where Lewis is not the starter. Now, I think Lewis is going to get points, and definitely in a PPR league. I don't know. Would that make a difference? PPR, Lewis?
In a PPR league, Lewis certainly has more value than he does in standard. In standard, I would never start Lewis unless it's a desperate bye week situation.
And I think I wasn't paying attention. Marquise Lee is now active. Would you start him?
I mean, what are my options?
Well, I don't know. I just,
probably not. Again, it's funny because to start sick questions, I like it. We're doing it week 1, but they really don't get interesting to me until there's bye weeks, because that's when the tough decisions actually come. Realistically, right now, draft, you play the guys you drafted.
Me and Chris talked about that also. Right. Sit start questions week 1. Don't complicate it. Play the guys you drafted higher.
And even in week 2 and 3, I typically say that the odd time, again, we've mentioned Damian Williams a number of times. There's certain situations that we're unsure of right now. So you got to see how they start to play out. That should affect some things a little bit. But right now, if you're drafting, let's say you have 6 starters or 8 starters, you're play the guys you drafted to be your starters in week 1. See how it goes. You're not going to win or lose your season based on week 1. but play the guys he drafted to start. And after that, if there's an injury, God forbid, or someone seems to lose a job, or it's going to be more in a timeshare, then ask us next week.
But I'll ask you this week, because I do have, this is back to last week. Last year, I always messed up and didn't need to make changes. I'm going to try to keep tabs on my teams while we're doing this show. I have Marquise Lee, and I have Devontae Parker, and I have Tate. So obviously, for the next 3 weeks, I'm going to probably have to bump back and forth. And I have Kiki Kuti, which I don't think he still shows up as being hurt. So I actually have that decision. Those 3 guys, one of them has to be my number 3 wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the matchup for Lee against the Chiefs. Again, the Chiefs did make some improvements on the defensive side of the football, but at the same time, they are going to play in a lot of high-scoring games. Dede Westbrook is the number 1 guy in Jacksonville. After that, though, is it going to be Lee? Is it going to be DJ Chark? I mean, there's not a lot of clarity there yet. So
but they also have a quarterback change there, right? So, do we know what?
Exactly. It kind of just depends who Foles latches onto besides Westbrook. There's also Keelan Cole. It's pretty much they also brought in Chris Conley. So I mean, there's 4 receivers fighting for that number 2 spot and then a slot position. So it's Dede Westbrook and the rest. So right now, I don't really love any of the Jags, but by week 3 or 4, we'll see who Foles likes and who Foles doesn't like.
All right, Dak Prescott. These 2 questions both have Dak in them, so I'm going to say rank the players. Dak Prescott, Big Ben, Jameson.
I'm going to put Big Ben first. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in that Patriots game. The Patriots defense usually stinks the first half of the season, and then they kind of come together as a team and start playing really good defense. So I'm going to take Big Ben there at the top. I'm probably going to take Winston number 2 because I think he's going to have to pass the ball a lot more. We know that Dak Prescott's a solid quarterback, but most of the time Dallas is going to try to win their game on the ground. So to me, if you have that opportunity, go give them, go use those guys that are going to throw the football.
All right. DJ Moore or Corey Davis?
Probably going to go with Corey Davis. I don't trust Cam Newton's injury right now. I think he's more banged up than they say he is, and it's going to take one hit from that Rams ferocious front 4 or linebacking core to knock him down and have him. He'll be limping around or whining or complaining about some sort of injury pretty early on in that game. I think the only guy I really love there is McCaffrey, and of course I don't mind Olsen for those short intermediate stuff, and I like Samuel for the big play. I think DJ Moore is honestly going to be the odd man out in Carolina. I know they actually wanted to trade him. They put him on the trade block this offseason, preseason, because they had so much confidence in Samuel being the guy, and McCaffrey gets so much volume there. I don't trust DJ Moore week to week.
All right. I think I agree there too. But again, it's a toss up a little bit because like I said, back same thing, Corey Davis with the new quarterback and everything. A flex spot. This is Westbrook, Coleman, John Brown.
Coleman, John Brown, and
Dede Westbrook. I'm assuming you're going to say Dede Westbrook. Yeah, I figured that one. Moncrief, who's in a new home. Pettis, Marvin Jones. They need one in a flex.
I'm going to go with Moncrief, man. I've been on Moncrief a lot. I tried to own him in as many places as possible, and we've seen that number 2 wide receiver in Pittsburgh have a lot of success over the years, and I think that's exactly what Moncrief's going to do.
What's your opinion then? I'll take him out. I'm just curious now, Pettis versus Jones. Because I agree. I think Moncrief's by far the best of the 3. Pettis and Jones.
I trust Marvin Jones more than I trust Pettis right now and for week 1.
Then you trust Stafford?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Stafford's a problem for the line.
He was last year. He was hurt back. He had issues. I mean, because I'm a Stafford guy. Last year just really was disappointing fantasy wise. So, we'll see. Yeah, someone did ask Gurley. I know they're saying that Gurley has no snap count, or they're not going to put him on any kind of a,
I actually have a question here, Easy. My buddy Chris has messaged me. He is in an all TD and yards league. It only counts yards and
Old school.
Okay, yeah. And he has 3 quarterbacks. He's got Breeze, he's got Big Ben, he's got Nick Foles. He's leaning towards benching Nick Foles. I said, as much as I like Foles in this matchup, I don't see how you can sit Ben or Breeze. Would you agree? Would you disagree?
I would agree with that. Ben's definitely the one I think's the highest. And Breeze, you never know right now with Breeze, but he can still get in a shootout. I mean,
yeah, and it's in New Orleans. I think Breeze to me is actually the guy 100%. His question was, is it Ben or is it Foles? And for me, it's Ben just because of the matchup versus New England. I think that there's going to be a lot of back and forth. I already mentioned the Patriots defense typically doesn't show up until week 8 or week 9. And as much as I've been saying I like Foles' matchup, I'm using him in DFS. If I wanted to use Big Ben in DFS, it'd be more expensive. So Foles comes at a great value, and Foles could have a good day. But for me, I'm going with Ben and Breeze. I'm going with the guys that are future Hall of Famers that have been there, done that, and not on a new team, in a new offense for the first time.
Right. The next thing I'm out of questions. So people, if you got questions, put them in the chat room. Like I said, week 1, it makes it a little hard, but me and you talked the other day about picking up Gronk. Does them now signing Brown make picking up Gronk any different in your mind right now?
No, it's a different position. I mean, if Gronk is going to play, if Gronk is going to sign, then he easily becomes a top 10 tight end before he even takes the field, in my opinion. So no, if you have the bench spot right now, I would absolutely take a shot on Gronk. And the big thing is a lot of people say, oh, well, I don't want to clog up my bench. You don't need that extra bench spot until the bye week start. So hold Gronk, see what happens around week 4. If you're in need of picking up a player because someone's on a bye, then make your decision, because we'll probably know something. And in fact, I heard that we might find out some news tonight, because Gronk was playing some catch with Drew Bledsoe at Gillette Field yesterday, and one of the former Patriots tweeted that there's going to be some big news tonight that's announced tonight. So Don't be surprised.
Well, that's different, because
I
was going to go, if their offense struggles more to start the season, I can see where the Patriots would try to sell him on it a little more, and then him coming back would be greater. With Brown now coming on, if the offense doesn't have any issues and they're scoring lots of points, I would think they'd have less of a reason to go and try to sell him on coming back. But you're saying this decision might have already been made.
Yeah, it's quite possible that it's already been made, and I think that it doesn't matter what their offense is doing. If you can add Gronk for the final even 6 weeks of the season and into the playoffs, it's going to give you an edge. And we both know Antonio Brown, clearly there's something going on up here right now. Josh Gordon seems to get in trouble every other day. Julian Edelman is injury prone. So right now it looks like there are a lot of options, but all of a sudden they can go from 3 to 1 very quickly.
Right. And unfortunately, I'm reading something here. The friend of the show for me and Chris, a Fantasy Fan Sportscast, and a kid I coached over the years in baseball, Wes Martin. He's a rookie lineman for the Washington Redskins, and he does happen to be on their inactive. I know it's not a fantasy thing, but I was actually, wanting to get a watch him today, maybe for the first time, but he did come up on their inactive list. So I hate to hear that for Wesley, hear from our hometown boy playing professional football. Jordan Reed's definitely out, and that's a concussion. It's like his 19th concussion or something. Is there a chance he doesn't come back?
There's always a chance when there's concussions to be, concussions or injuries. I mean, Jordan Reed is seemingly always injured, so I'm not that surprised by this news. But overall, I mean, if you have him on your roster, you keep him there for a few weeks and see what happens.
Right. We have another question in the chat room. T.Y. Hilton or Emmanuel Sanders?
That is a great question, and I'm going to go with T.Y. Hilton here. As much as I know that he might suffer a little bit without Andrew Luck. We're talking about Hilton and Brissett, who have played together, who have a lot of reps together. Then we're talking about Sanders, who's not only coming off a serious injury, but his quarterback is Joe Flacco. And I don't have much faith in Flacco, Easy. What's your call there with Flacco?
My call here is
with the better quarterback at this point. I'll take the quarterback and better player.
I'm going to go by, I'm going to go like I would say, and we already said earlier, at this point, week one, I'm taking the guy I drafted earlier, and I'm assuming you drafted T.Y. Hilton earlier. I really think that's the only decision on this one for me. I would play the guy I drafted earlier and T.Y. Hilton drafted earlier. Now, I know you drafted him a little earlier with Luck being there, but I still don't think the Brissett thing is going to hurt T.Y. Hilton as much as we think. I actually put a few feelers and tried to trade for T.Y. Hilton, hoping maybe that people were putting him down a little farther on their list than they should have. And I mean, nothing came of it, but I agree. I think T.Y. Hilton is the start here. And I agree with your reasons also. Just the quarterback and the fact they have played a whole season together pretty much already.
I think Brissett's a better quarterback at this point than Joe Flacco is. And I think T.Y. Hilton is a significantly better.
Now, that being said, Sanders looked pretty good in preseason. Sanders.
If you want to go back 6 years.
Okay, I know.
Emmanuel Sanders and Flacco sounds like a great combination.
Now,
but it's not 2013.
Okay, but no, I think you're wrong. Emmanuel Sanders was on pace to have a very good season when he ACL, right? Or Achilles. So, and I get it. It's Achilles, and that's a pretty major injury. But he was, I mean, that was just a year and a half ago. He was on pace he was going crazy, to be real honest. Now, it wasn't with Flacco, but he was doing that out of the slot and a spot where Flacco would throw the ball to. So I see what you're saying. And I'm actually a little higher on Flacco than other people because I think Flacco's one of those guys that, because he has something to prove, is going to, I don't think Flacco's horrible, like people say. I think Baltimore just always had a scheme that worked and didn't allow him to do a whole lot, but I'll be curious. Again, no, I'm still starting T.Y. Hilton. I mean, thanks for the question. That's just definitely where I'm going because I drafted him earlier. And I would go down there. But that being said, Emmanuel Sanders, we've mentioned, I'll throw one out to you because like I said, now I'm going to make up questions. D.D. Westbrook or Emmanuel Sanders?
D.D. Westbrook for me.
D.D. Westbrook, T.Y. Hilton. Shouldn't be a decision you have to make. Those you should be able to start both. But
I think that Dede might have the better day because I just love Dede. But if I had to make that decision, I'd probably go Hilton because if I drafted Hilton, especially after the Luck news, and most people had drafts after that Luck news. It's not like all your drafts were done before that. If you drafted Hilton, you drafted him probably as a wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2. Probably wide receiver 1, I would probably start him over Dede, but you should not have to make that decision. I agree with you.
Right. Okay. Other than football in general, I'm going to just ask you what's the other than I'm going to throw out your Cowboys, but other than that, what's the big game that you really want to see, and what game today? Well, I'll just say the 1:00 slot for here in the East Coast, 1:00. What game fantasy wise are you wanting to see the most?
I am excited to see the Rams and the Panthers. I'm excited to see the Chiefs and the Jags. I think Vikings and Falcons are going to be good. And from the early standpoint, I like those games.
All right, I'm pretty excited. And then obviously the 4:00, you just can't wait to see the Bengals, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm definitely looking forward to Cowboys Giants. Just as a Cowboys fan, I think that the Colts and Chargers is going to be an interesting game. Excited to see what Brissett and Hilton and those Colts can do. I think the Chargers are going to be a great team this year. And what I'm really two of the best games are primetime tonight, Steelers and Patriots, and then tomorrow night we do have 2 games, but the first one, Saints and Texans, is going to be a great game.
Right, that starts like if you're in California, that's like at your lunchtime, right?
It's 4 o'clock here.
The first game starts at your lunch break. But then the opposite's here. The second game won't start till 10:15 or something like that, and it'll go till 1:30 or so in the morning. And but I will stay up and watch. Obviously, that game got in. I mean, I'm a crazy guy. I'm going to stay up and watch regardless. But obviously, with everything that's happened there. I got to tell you, believe it or not, I'm a little excited here to watch the Lions and the Cardinals. I think there's a lot of questions on those teams. And I think if both those teams have potential for fantasy people that are sleepers in my book a little bit.
Well, I mean, I like Kyler Murray potentially. David Johnson, great. I like Christian Kirk. I like Kerryon Johnson. I love Kenny Galladay, big Galladay
right.
fan.
And
I always think with Marvin Jones, if you're in a deep league and Marvin Jones is your wide receiver 3 or a flex option, it's not terrible.
I guess what I wanted to say is there's a lot of 3rd and 4th round draft picks on this game. There's a lot of, there's a lot of those guys that you're going, man, this is the guy I need to pay off to make me, a big contender. Because it's those 3rd, 4th round guys that you pick up that give you first round numbers for a year that make your fantasy season sometimes just go smoothly. So I'm pretty excited about that. But obviously, I'm just excited to get the season, started all the way around. Obviously, Thursday I watched. It was, fun. Yeah. Are you still in baseball mode at all? Are you still?
Of course, I'm still in baseball mode.
I know.
All year round, man.
And I am too, because I'm in playoffs, baby. My bye week, the bye week couldn't have come at a better time, because bye week for baseball, it allowed me to focus on football this week. So, that made it kind of nice. Jim Ross is thinking that the Jags are the upset special. That's what he's going with. And I don't know if it's too late. We should have maybe mentioned earlier. Is there still a Sports Crew Survivor League out there if people follow us?
There is. But I mean, it looks like we're locked in at this point. I don't know if anyone's going to subscribe on iTunes and send us.
But they have a half hour, right? I mean, if you're listening to us now, you can go, follow us on YouTube or any.
I will post the link to iTunes in the iTunes chat room.
In the YouTube chat room, because if you like it and then you follow, it's free, and the chance to win up to $200, right, on a Survivor. And all you have to do is beat some of us people that know what we're doing, and I'm one of those. So
you know what? It's one of those things where anybody can win.
Right. This is the second. I did one a long time ago. 3 or 4 years ago, someone did one at work. This is the first one I've done a long time. So I took a few minutes and studied and made my wise choice. But I'm just letting everybody know. Yeah, like us. Follow us on the Sports Crew Radio Network on iTunes or any podcast catcher, because you get all of our shows. And, we now have quite a few. And it's the sportscrew.com. And even my website, afantasyfan.com, will also take you there, and you'll get all the content, and you'll see where to follow us and where to get all of our shows, because we do baseball, football. I know we got hockey coming up. That starts real soon. I've noticed
basketball as well, fantasy sports, dynasty sports, DFS, real life sports. Pretty much, we got it all.
Right. And again, we will be doing this show every Sunday morning from 11:30 to 12:30. Again, this was a little slow week question-wise compared to last year, but I think we'll get more questions as it goes. And obviously, the sooner you get them in.
I don't know, man. I feel like I answered 20-plus questions today. I think that's pretty solid for week one.
I think we had a bunch, and that's good. But we want people to come to the chat room. So like I said, I think we're going to experiment next week. What we're going to talk about, I think we're going to experiment next week with the Facebook version, because we think that's going to maybe just be a little easier for people that are on the go, or to be able to just pop us up on their phone or something. And
also with Facebook too. If you're following the person, I think we'll probably use my account, because you don't really use Facebook. If you follow the person, it actually pops up on your app, and you see the little window down there. So if you're interested at all, pick it up, and maybe you don't think you have a question, but you start listening, and hell, you know what? Maybe I should ask someone. Our opinions come in when we got the chat room. Like today, we've had a pretty full chat room, and we appreciate it, and I expect to have that on Facebook Live as well. Everyone else will have an opinion too. So, I mean, we might say one thing, but if you get 10 opinions, maybe 7 people go one way, 3 go the other. Maybe majority wins in your mind.
But only because you just said that. Why don't you, on Facebook, are you just Lou Landers? If they look that up, will they find you? Obviously, if anyone's in the chat room today or listen to this, we want you to go follow Lou on Facebook. And that way, when we post it next week, you'll get informed that we're on and be able to post a question there. And but like I said, you can always tweet us even during the show. I have that we have Twitter up. We'll get a question here that way also. Well, Lou, I had a blast. This is going to be exciting. It's like I said, hard the first week just because we don't know, and next week it'll really start. Hopping with people now. It always happens. Even after week one, there'll be injuries. There'll be people that did really good and people who didn't do as good. So you'll have more questions. But Lou, thanks for coming on and doing this. And like I said, join us every Sunday, 11:30 to 12:30. The Sports Crew Radio Network. I'm Easy Kill, at a fantasy fan. Lou Landers at Landers Talks. Lou, do you have anything? Do you have a show or anything scheduled in the next day or two that they need to know?
Oh yeah, I'll probably have some sports buffet coming on tomorrow, recapping some of the stuff. I'll have some baseball, and Tuesday will be my big review of week one and some waiver wire talk. And instead of doing Thursday DFS and Thursday preview on the Tuesday show, now I will have a separate show Thursday previewing just that game and DFS for that night.
All right. And then I have a show with Chris Allen, who writes for about every fantasy site out there on Wednesday nights. We do it live at 10 o'clock. We'll take questions there also. And then, like I said, I'm kind of excited for my league is going to have a podcast this year where we're just going to talk smack and we'll be talking fantasy football and be talking about our leagues. I don't know. Hopefully some of you will get information of it, but we're just going to do it for fun. Tuesday.
Any shows that is done here on YouTube will be available as a podcast on the Sports Crew Radio Network shortly after.
All right, Lou. Again, we'll see you next week.
Leatherface.
This has been Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. And to keep your fantasies going, follow us at justthefantasyfan.com. Say good night. Good night.